just give it a minute while it fires up. Okay, we are you're good to go, John. We're recording with a clean version.
Great, thank you so much. Apologies for difficulties. Gave you a little overview about Growth Capital, who we are as a private not-for-profit mission lender. And what we provide is SBA Community Advantage loans. Okay, SBA Community Advantage is a subset of SBA's regular guarantee program. You have the highlights here. The program maximum is $350,000, so it is a small loan. Okay, the minimum is $25,000. Okay, it is not an incentive program. Okay, as the interest rate goes between prime +4 to prime +6. All right, it is an access to capital program. Okay, and in addition to the loan size and the rates, SBA requires that Community Advantage lenders make at least 60% of our loans to underserved markets. Along with the financing, we also make connections to technical assistance providers to much like SCORE to provide additional support for the small businesses that we help finance. So what type of business is eligible for a SBA Community Advantage loan? Well, any type of for-profit business. We cannot, unfortunately, finance any not-for-profit corporations, but for any for-profit business, whether that be manufacturing, distribution, wholesale, commerce, service companies, everything. As long as it is a legally operating business, we can finance that. And what are the use of proceeds? The money can be used for any business purchase. The purchase of owner-occupied commercial real estate, as long as it's, again, owner-occupied, to improve facilities, okay, to finance receivables, to provide additional working capital, for inventory, debt refinancing, and this is always a big one. Business acquisitions, right? I don't know if there's anyone out there that's been researching small business acquisitions, but there's a dearth. All right, no, excuse me, no, there's a wealth of small businesses who are owned by baby boomers who are retiring, who want to get out of business. And many of the second generations are not that interested in continuing the family business these days. So there are a lot of opportunities for small business acquisitions. Okay, and our SBA Community Advantage is able to provide financing in those cases of small business acquisitions. So how do I want to describe the SBA Community Advantage and how it really fits in the marketplace? Okay, I think I had mentioned early before our technical difficulties that SBA is not a lender of last resort. Okay, and the best way I can describe the SBA Community Advantage loan is the just miss bank loan. Okay. There's a couple of reasons that a number of reasons why a small business might not be quite yet bankable. Okay. And I'd like to highlight a few. Okay. Low personal credit score, limited personal liquidity, limited personal net worth, sole proprietorships, limited business revenue, limited business balance sheet, tight cash flow coverage, limited collateral. Okay, these are all very legitimate reasons why a bank would deny a credit request for a small business owner. Okay, some of these things you can certainly deal with immediately and try to improve. A personal credit score that's bad can be improved. Okay, it takes time, but it can be improved. So know your personal credit history. Okay. And don't just know a score. Understand how your past credit usage, okay, affects your ability to borrow. Okay, so if you don't have a strong credit score, there are ways. There are ways to improve it. There are credit building applications out there. There are organizations that also help restore good credit. But it does take a personal commitment. I can tell you, if you come to Growth Capital with a 563 FICO score, we can't help you. Okay. But if you come with a 620, and you've shown that that progressive improvement, then yeah, maybe we can help. Okay, but personal credit is certainly an important factor in a small business loan. Okay, limited personal liquidity and limited personal net worth, they really take time to build. Okay. It doesn't cost a whole lot to incorporate. So sometimes, when you're just more sophisticated, right, you're more easily able to obtain financing. Okay. So, if you need to spend a few $100s to incorporate, sometimes that's helpful for a lender. Okay. What's very important, okay, is that your revenue numbers are good. Okay. And that your cash flow is good. Okay, that's the number one most important aspect. Okay, as a lender, is that I have a borrower with sufficient cash flow. Okay, if I do not have a borrower with sufficient cash flow, I cannot make them a loan. Okay. Limited collateral I can deal with. Okay. Most bankers require a fully collateralized loan. We don't need to do that. We are required to take all available collateral, but it does not need the fully collateralized loan. What's most important in an SBA Community Advantage loan is the sufficient cash flow of the borrower. Okay, so this is how we're able to help, right? We're not the Community Advantage loan is not a loan of last resort. Okay. But lower personal credit scores, as I talked about recently, can be acceptable. Okay, there's no FICO cutoff. Okay, and we cannot finance previous bankruptcy filings. Okay, I know that unfortunately, some individuals get in situations where they're required to file a bankruptcy. Unfortunately, that would preclude them from obtaining SBA Community Advantage financing from Growth Capital. Personal liquidity sufficient for living expenses and working capital. Okay, so what we look for is a total, what we call a global cash flow coverage. Okay, so not just what the business generates, okay, but also what the business owner personally has to service his own personal debts. Okay. So again, while it's a business loan, the individual owner is paramount in the credit underwriting. Okay. So how we're able to sort of navigate some of these issues, right? Sole proprietorships are fine. We can do that. And again, we look at global cash flow. Okay. We know that small businesses produce small revenue numbers. All right. So we looked at a deal just yesterday. It was a contractor. Contractor had been in business for about 15 years, had only incorporated about 2 years ago. So we had 2 years worth of good tax returns to give us. Okay. And his revenues were less than $200,000 a year. That's a pretty small business, okay? And many banks are not willing to look at a loan for a business that has $100,000 worth of revenue, okay? But the business itself produces sufficient cash flow. It's profitable, even at that revenue level, and it's probably a deal that we're able to do. Negative net worth is okay. We're not concerned about that, as again banks are. Tight cash flow coverage again is okay. Many banks require 1.25 times, 1.35 times cash flow coverage. Okay. We do not. We require what I would consider a reasonable cash flow coverage. Okay. And again, collateral coverage is not required on our community advantage loans. We are required to take all available collateral. Okay. But if that does not fully collateralize the loan, we're still able to obtain SBA approval and fund that loan. This is a very important aspect of SBA Community Advantage lending with growth capital is we can fund startups. Okay, most banks are unable to fund a pure startup. Okay, we are able to do that in certain cases. Okay, and I wanted to highlight them here today. You know, we say in our slide here, startups okay with outside income. Okay, so that usually means the business owner is working outside of his business as it starts. Okay, or the business owner, she may be working full time in the business, but her spouse is employed outside the business. Okay, so if there's outside income that supports a global cash flow, that there's enough personal income to cover their personal debts and living expenses along with the business debt, and they have industry experience, right, then we can do that loan. Someone just wants to buy a restaurant because they eat every day. Well, that's not industry experience. Okay. But those are the limited circumstances in which we can help provide financing for a pure startup. Okay. Okay, so why would a borrower consider an SBA Community Advantage loan? Okay, it can be a solution that helps them actually become bankable. So what we're able to do many times is work with a borrower who has been at a bank and the bank wasn't able to help them, right? And that bank referred them to growth capital. Or a small business owner goes to SCORE. SCORE helps them put together a financing request, and our friends at SCORE refer that deal to growth capital or to many lenders. Okay. So what we're able to do once we get that once we have that ability to provide financing when a bank is not able to, what we want to see is we want to see that business get back to bankable, right? We're not a bank. We don't want deposits. We don't want long-term business. All we do is transactions, one loan at a time. Okay. So once we make that loan, okay, what we're really trying to do is help that borrower, get back to bank financing. Okay. And here's how we're able to do that. Okay. Borrowers able to build a credit history with us, okay, with SBA's Community Advantage loan, okay. They can build a solid credit history with timely payments, okay. All of the SBA Community Advantage loans are required to have payments via ACH, okay, which helps with timely payments, okay. All the loans are on 10-year terms, fully amortizing, okay. So this gives borrowers a much lower payment than they would if it was a bank loan. A bank loan of, let's say, on equipment, they wouldn't go more than 5 years. Okay. On working capital, they'd probably go more than 3 years. We can provide the same type of financing on a 10-year term that really stretches out those payments. Okay. Reduces the monthly payment as small as possible to give that company, that business, the breathing room it needs, the cash flow support it needs as it's continuing in its growth pattern. Okay. We do have the ability to offer deferments when appropriate. Okay. Many businesses run into market distortions, right? And they may lose a large customer, right? There may be other appropriate circumstances, and when there are those situations, we are able to offer payment deferments to the borrowers, again, to give them a little bit more breathing room from a cash flow perspective. We also connect borrowers with technical assistance sources like SCORE, our friends here today, small business development centers, many throughout Cleveland here. So that technical assistance can be a source of further support to help that Community Advantage borrower move on and become a bank customer. Our rates are higher than bank rates. Okay, and that does help encourage bank refinancing, right? So if we're able to, you work with a banker, and he says, no, I can't help you, but I think maybe Growth Capital can. They send them, they send you to them, they send you us. We're able to make the loan. Okay, if we're able to make the loan, okay, if you can go back to the banker in a year, 18 months, let's say, of payment history. And solid business performance, then that banker would love to do nothing but to make that loan. All right. And it would be at a lower rate than we can provide. So it does help encourage bank refinancing. That's ultimately what we're looking for. And we work with bankers and bank lenders to refinance our outstandings. Just yesterday, I looked at a loan that we had financed about 3 years ago. And I remember the deal. It was kind of tough, but we got it done. And I just saw they had a payoff request. They were refinancing us for a lower rate. So worked out just the way it's supposed to. Okay. Let me continue. Do we have any questions as we're going along? Because if we do, I can certainly take them as we go. It looks like we might have a couple.
Okay, John, you have a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
Can the loan be used for a startup?
Yes. Okay. And I think I hit on a number of those things. Okay. We can do a startup. Okay, with our SBA Community Advantage. If there's outside income, okay, there's got to be some sort of outside income. Okay, if the repayment of the loan is based solely on the projected cash flow of the business, then no, that we can't do. But again, if there is outside income, industry experience, okay, then we can look at a global cash flow and actually finance a pure startup.
Okay, next question. Can business cash flow be used to determine getting a loan for equipment? This is from a guy who has a trucking company and wants to buy more trucks.
Yes. As a matter of fact, we finance a lot of logistical businesses. We have dump trucks and trailers and a lot of over the road vehicles. Okay, and many times you're going to have just a single note for a single vehicle. All right. And they're usually about 5-year terms. Maybe they go 7. If it's bank financing, okay. If it's not bank financing, if it's just dealer financing, and many dealers have commercial financing that they make available. Okay. That's not available to consumers if you're just going off a lot. Yes, vehicle financing is something that is very advantageous because we can go out 10 years on a vehicle. No one else is going to go out 10 years on a vehicle. Okay. Next question.
Okay, one more, and then let's get back to the slides. Can you give us an example of higher rates?
Yes. Okay. So the rate is prime plus 4 to prime plus 6. Okay. So right now prime's at 7.5. So our rates can be between, let's say, 11 and 14%. And again, that's variable as the prime goes. And I'll just take a look at prime today while I'm at it. I don't think it's changed in a while. Yeah, it's 7.5%. Last year at this time it was 8.5, so that's a little bit better. But that's exactly our rates fluctuate between prime plus 4 to prime plus 6. Okay. I wanted to just give some examples of the types of businesses that we've been able to finance with our growth capital community advantage loan. Uh, Fruity Cakes, right? This was a longtime employee at a bakery, and she purchased the business. Okay, this is a perfect example of the business acquisitions I had mentioned earlier, right? Where there are retiring baby boomers that have been operating businesses for many years, and this is exactly what happened. Okay, she was unable to obtain bank financing. Banker referred her to us, and actually that loan performed well and paid off. That was a loan we did probably about 10 years ago. How about this one, Miller's? It's a neighborhood restaurant and bar. Okay. Yep, we do bar restaurants. We can do those. Many banks won't do them, right? Although I did look at one today, and the seller of the establishment would not provide tax returns to the buyer, which is a big no-no for SBA financing. So just a big caveat when it comes to business acquisitions. Seller tax returns are always required. Extreme marketing. Okay, so this is just a service. It's just a service company. This is a company that basically works out of his home. He's got computers and some printers, maybe. And so it's hard for a business like that to get bank financing sometimes. Okay, it has no collateral, right? We were able to make a loan to Extreme Marketing, a working capital loan that helped him acquire new customers. Okay, and he's actually grown. Again, has paid us off. We can also do franchises, right? Ever been to a Great Clips? Great Clips. We've done several locations for franchisee owned Great Clips restaurants or salons. We're able to do manufacturing companies, small manufacturing companies where we might finance a $200,000 CNC machine, right? Or again, it could be a service company where we're providing nothing but working capital to finance the growth of a new business client, okay, a new customer base. So there's a wide plethora of things that we can do to finance the small business, okay? And the SBA Community Advantage loan can be a bridge to bank financing. That's really what we at Growth Capital look for it to be. If a company doesn't move on from our financing, then their success is quite limited. Okay, we want to be a partner in that success and provide the financing for that company, for that business when they were the just missed bank loan. Okay, and again, help them when that business needs it, provide that access to capital when it's needed, connect with the technical assistance support to help further expand that business success and then get them back to Bankable. So I think that's all I have for us this afternoon. I'm certainly available for more questions. Opened up to a conversation as well. But you can check out our website at growthcapitalcorp.com. You can apply right online. We have secure online web loan application portal. I hope that I was able to share, again, some information about Growth Capital and what we do, but more importantly, how you can make sure that you do become bankable, right? That you can be ready to make a loan application to a bank for your business and get approved. With that, I'll take any other questions.
John, there are two more
Software
questions.
development.
John,
Yes,
there's
please.
two more questions. First is, well, let's do the software development. Is there funding available for software development?
Yes. Okay. We actually did a really large loan for it was a $350,000 working capital loan to a company that was still in very early stages. Okay, so they were still rounding up investors, right? Investors by, I mean, $100,000 investors. Here's Auntie Anne with here's $80,000 I'll invest, right? So they were getting together a pretty good round of funding, maybe about $500,000 to fund operations, because they were not yet at revenue. Okay, they were just close to revenue. Okay, but they still had some software development costs, and we funded them to the tune of about $300,000. And the company completed the development of the product. Okay, and they've been able to launch it, and sales are good. So yes, software development is certainly a eligible project cost.
And the last question is for travel and tour sector. This person is a tour operator for international group travels.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So a couple of things there. SBA does support exporters. So if any of your clients are actually foreigners, okay, there are additional incentives that SBA provides for exporters. But any type of service business, okay, that is, no matter where they're generating the revenue, as long as they're U.S. based, okay, and are owned by U.S. citizens, then yes, that type of service business, again, they're hard to finance from banks. So banks are always looking for collateral, right? What kind of collateral does a travel agent have? A couple of computers and a desk, right? And maybe a phone, of course. Yeah, when collateral is not the issue, again, sometimes SBA Community Advantage can be an option.
One more question, and then we'll wrap up. The person is a first-generation farmer and wants to know if they could get a loan from you.
Okay, yes, but not an ag loan. Okay, we financed. We can finance the purchase of a farm. Okay, we can finance the purchase of farm equipment. Okay, we can provide working capital for the operations of a farm. We just cannot finance crops. Okay, that's a very specific financing vehicle, right? And there's very few out there that do it and do it well. But we can fund a farm as long as we're funding equipment or the real estate, the farming operations, and not the actual crops or livestock themselves. I'm sorry, livestock or crops we cannot finance.
And one more has just popped up.
Sure, keep going.
Pilates studio.
Yes. Yeah, we just did a spin. The instructor, she does spin classes, all spin, and we financed about, I don't know, 50 bicycles, right, and some build out for her studio, and it's a good business. Yeah, it's a very good business.
Okay, I think that wraps it up. Everybody, you will get a copy of the slides. You will get the second recording, which contains all of the pearls of wisdom in the right order without any glitches. And I want to thank John for his timely presentation. His website is on your screen, www.growthcapital.com. That is the best place to begin the process. And believe me, they do look at it every day, maybe even more than once a day. So with that, we're going to wrap this up. And thank you very much, everybody, for your timely attention. I want to thank all 35 people who attended today. If you want a SCORE mentor, go to SCORE.